As he thinketh in his heart, so is he. This is from the Proverbs. And I told you yesterday on the broadcast, and I know I'm restating things that I've said to you before here on the broadcast, but they're so important that I want to make sure that I get this message across very, very plain. Simply this: I am spiritual. I'm a spiritual person. God is spiritual. And there is spiritual activity going on all around me, and the same thing for you. Now, the thing is that most people, and I'm talking about people who are outside of faith, they are operating under their carnal man. Everything that they do is carnal. They think carnal, they act carnal, because they're only using one side of who they are. But the truth of the matter is that every individual also has the spiritual side. The thing about it is most people have not had an awakening. But when the awakening occurs, it begins to transform that individual, because they begin to see things different, and they begin to realize that there are spiritual things going on all around them. And the thing is that a lot of times we get concerned about the external things that we see, dress, behavior, these type of things, and we try to address those things. But the reality is that these are carnal, they're flesh. Scripture says flesh is flesh, and it'll always be flesh until the transformation of the heart takes place, and the person begins to be aware that they're spiritual and they live in a spiritual world. I had a friend of mine called me, and he said, Pastor, I want you to pray for my son. And I said, okay. So what's going on? He said, well, my son called me the other day, called him, and said he wanted to stop drinking. And so my friend called me to ask me to pray for his son, that his son would be able to stop drinking. And I'm talking about drinking alcohol. And this is what I told my friend. I said, here, this is what I want you to do the next time you talk to your son. I want you to tell him that God is speaking to him. And my friend immediately said, no. He don't want to have anything to do with this religious stuff. And I said, of course not. What else would you expect? He's operating from his carnal side. And that's all he knows to operate. And yes, the carnal side is, as the scripture says, is enemy with God. And it's opposes God. And so the spirit that would oppose God, of course he would be opposing religion or the spiritual world and the spiritual reality. Of course he would be opposed to that. But just simply, I said to him, I said, just tell him that God is speaking to him, and leave it there. Plant the seed. You see, the seed is very, very important. And we're going to talk about this tomorrow on the broadcast. This is Pastor Jack King with the Gospel on the radio broadcast.